Didn't correct that problem. Let me actually I am going to correct that problem, and not just with my shawl. I actually want to correct that problem with a scarf. So I'm going to come back with a scarf in just a sec. A fun topic, huh? I know. And now I added the Brooks family in there. What is up? What's up? This is actually the summary and conclusion in a fun way of our twin studies. I started thinking that I wanted to do this topic. All right. All right. I didn't start thinking of it at all. I was like, what am I going to do tomorrow for the topic? I have no idea. And I was watching Will Arnett and the way that he jokes around with Justin Bateman, which I just love. Jason Bateman. Justine Bateman, Jason Bateman, whatever. It looks very familiar to me. Anyway, not Jason, but Justine does. And Will Arnett, I see him sitting on the couch like I do, like this, like basically like I do. And it's not the best look. It's just not the best look, right? It's not a bad look. You know, it's hard for Will Arnett to look anything that would be negative. But he's spread out across the couch, and of course he looks way better than I do, because number one, he doesn't have to tuck his arm in like I do. And number two, he has sleeves on. And in the summertime, I never wear sleeves. I wear long sleeves and I wear sleeveless. And that's basically it. Short sleeves seems to me to be senseless, a senseless purchase. I'm either warm or I need to get warmer or I need to get cooler. Warmer, long sleeves, cooler, sleeveless. I don't know. So anyway, Will Arnett does not have to, he's not sleeveless. He's not wearing a wife beater. Yeah, I said it. So, but why do I do that? Well, this arm, like I said, I had a strawberry patch here. And so I don't think I have any, when they cut that out, I think that they cut the muscle, because you can clearly see that those two arms are very different, right? And this one I could actually do pretty good with and making, but I don't have decent arms to begin with, right? But I could, if I were to work this arm out tremendously, I would end up having an arm like a man. I don't want an arm like a man. I don't mind this arm. It's not the best arm. All I'd have to do is like clip that. That's all I would need to do, and that would be it, right? And I'm getting stronger and whatever. But then I have the strawberry patch, and then there's no hiding. There's just no hiding that she has the arms of a 300-pound woman, right? I mean, it's just fact. And I had the cryogenics, or whatever you call that, on the arms, and I told you this before, and it hurt like a mother. Oh my gosh, because mothers can hurt. And it did. And nothing, not a thing, not a single thing. And there was, $1,200 down the toilet. Because apparently for cosmetic whatever, they can claim anything they can claim. No test, no evidence. Somebody said it looked different. Oh, mark it. And it was really painful. And the pain was so tremendous that it seemed like it couldn't be healthy for me. So I didn't go back for the second treatment. Maybe that's why it didn't work. Do you suppose? So I see Will Arnett with his arms like this. And he's basically like this, which is what I do, right? I tuck my arms in and sometimes I sit like this. Now, as a woman, there's other things for you to look at. But a lot of times it just is just the arms. It's not where it's just the arms. A lot of times it's just the arms, right? That I'm positioning one way or another. And it's because I hate my arms. I mean, my arms don't even go with my body. How could my arms be so big? How could they be so big? Honestly, look at this. I don't even have, I mean, I understand that the camera distorts things and whatever, but honestly, how could my arm be so big? And I work out and and I keep in shape and I don't have to, I don't do I'm not a crazy person by any stretch of the imagination. Most of my workout comes from doing things, right? From mowing the lawn, right? From doing things and a few other things. But, so I try and keep in shape, but I'm not, like I said. So I do some, this, but I'd rather be pushing a lawnmower or doing something else. I was in my best shape in the upper part of my body when I had my first son, because he was a heavyweight, and I used to have to, and I carried him, and he wouldn't walk until he was 16 months. And so I carried him until he was 16 months, and he was a heavyweight. So I just got arms and back, and I was just like, up and down with that same, heavyweight. After a while, he was what? After a while, he was 20 pounds. 20 pounds, right there on my hip. Right? So anyway, but I was in good shape, but I always had, I always did have this. Because oh my gosh. I know. I know. So what is she talking about in a high school critical thinking class? Well, come on. What a perfect class to talk about my big fat arms, right? I hate my big fat arms. And I hate working hard and having nobody appreciate it. I hate speaking out and have them come by here and spit their tobacco in my water. I mean, it's just like whatever that is. Right? That's what that is to me. Like they're doing that to me. Right? Like, what are you going to do about it? You penniless, nearly homeless PhD. See what your PhD gets you. Yeah, a flock of organized crime around me trying to put me down with their hatred. So, but I have friends and family. This is how I'm going out, folks. If you could put a couple bubbles above my head, do that. Like a champagne buzz, a little bubbly around my head. Just coffee. So, I know. That's what I'm doing today. Chit-chatting with you about my fat arms. But what about the Brooks family? I don't even get that, Dr. Feravich. It's like, whoo, and you added that at the last minute. It just seems like you had a giant brain fart and decided to put it on paper. Amen, brothers and sisters. No, actually, that's not true. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I feel, as I said in the spiritual classroom, I know that something isn't expected of me to get over this nonsense that's going on, because that's the way that God works. But we also can't be lazy slugs either. So I don't very often, up until recently, didn't know that balance, right? How much am I supposed to be doing myself to get to the place where I'm supposed to be to get the graces and the rewards, and where the F are they? I don't know if it has anything to do with the way I talk, though. Anyway, so I've been thinking about this for a while, putting this piece of the puzzle together. This Brooks piece of the puzzle. That I'm pretty sure the Linda Crawford is the Linda Brooks. But again, this is before I was even married. How are these people around me? And why would they be around me without identifying themselves after all these years? So there's a thing I noticed, and somebody brought it up the other day in my mind by telling me about Accutane and that she was on Accutane. And I thought you were only supposed to be on Accutane once in your life, and that was it. And it's because it's so damaging that you can't. And she was like on it 2 or 3 times already. Spreading my arms out so they look better. That's a muscle. I'm fingering my strawberry patch. What did she just say? What did she just say? That's what they called these. It was a strawberry. Bump. I don't know exactly what it was called. Anyway, you get to see it there. I hate my arms. I hate my fat arms. You get to see it there. There we go. Wait, hold on just a minute. We gotta go this way. I know. So, I've seen this connection. They got cut out of my life, the Brooks family, just like that, and I had no idea why. But now within the last year, it's resurfaced in my mind because it was such an oddball thing. And I'm finding out a lot more stuff, right? So, was my husband involved in that severed relationship? What was involved in that severed relationship? And at the time, it was like, well, that's odd, but there's nothing I can do about it. And, okay. And it was a big severed relationship. And this is good for you in high school to think about and know. It was a big deal for me. It was an adult relationship, first of all. So the first time that somebody had cut off their relations with me, right? And then, like, no reason. I had no reason for it. So, I knew he had 4 brothers. I thought she was religious, but I knew it was of a weird religion. And Rainn Wilson is that religion, which is this Baha'i religion. But it sounds like witchcraft to me. Not that I'm claiming that there's anything wrong with witchcraft. I wouldn't necessarily know. My daughter-in-law has been interested in it. It is not something I'm interested in. It feels spiritually dark. And come on. There's enough spiritual darkness in this world. I don't need any more spiritual darkness. So it feels spiritually dark to me. And she never explained it very well to me. So Linda Crawford is a Baha'i, whatever. She has a look-alike husband on the sex offender list. And I've questioned her morals. So I don't know the sort of willingness to really talk about your spirituality and your religion and proclaim it and tell people about it, and yet still leave this whole mystic air about what it really is. And where it was derived. So, anyway. But there's been this thing that's been nagging me in the back of my mind about the twin studies. So when I started thinking about the twin studies, and when I started thinking about the characteristics in my own family, because I said I feel like I'm being studied, and I think that the majority of the studies have to do with twins. I would guess My guess is we all have twins. Every single one of us have a twin. Some of us are probably have a fraternal twin. Some of us have a, because if they've been splicing and dicing for as long as I think that they've been splicing and dicing, we all have twins. I do believe that a lot of it came right around the period of when I was born, and actually before, a window of period where they were really doing a lot of behavioral studies without any checks or balances in the ethics, as I have proclaimed in many of those studies, right? So Stanford prison experiment, anything that Philip Zimbardo touched. um, I'm trying to think of who Philip Zimbardo is today. He's got those damn eyebrows. Which, speaking of which, I would guess that Donald Trump is related to my dad because they look exactly alike. So, in all of this twin stuff and all the attention that I'm getting, especially politically speaking, there are political people who I know are around me. I know it. And so I've been trying to think about where all these connections are coming from. And some of them seem clearly to be organized crime connections. And so I don't know where my family fits in there, right? I do know that my dad would make a selfish choice before he made a moral choice. I'll say it that way. That I'm quite sure of. So, which seems to be the same thing that Donald Trump would be. And if you saw my dad and him, the only difference is my dad's dark skin. And that's the only difference. And my dad's shorter. But that's it. Got the same eyebrows, that those same eyebrows, which are more like my dad's than Donald Trump's eyebrows are like his dad's. Square face. Pursed, thin lips. Same attitude. So I have to be reflective about this. Most people wouldn't be like, my dad looks like Donald Trump. But he does. And with all this attention that I've had on me, that from people that I've seen from my past, like I've said, uh, Tim Martin is from elementary school, from St. Michael's. I was at St. Michael's. So, Gordy Balcom. Looks like his wife is, what's her name? I could see her face. It probably is. So even elementary school. So this is a high school class. I know it's a high school class. You need to follow me. You need to keep going with me, right? This is a high school class. It's a critical thinking class. I'm mixing a lot of other levels in here, but this is straight direct for you. I hate my fat arms. The Brooks family, the twin studies. Don't think I've forgotten where I'm going. Although, it's not like I've got this clear picture. Don't think. You've seen it. You've seen it come around. So, one of the things that's been so curious is that there has to be screw ups, and where are they putting the screw ups? And I've suggested that maybe it's here on my property, right? I've suggested that there's something going on. There's movie stars. There are actors all over the place, and people from the past in a concerted effort to get my property. And then the knowledge and the research. So my job and what I do also. All of this, playing a part and trying to put this together. And so there has to be mistakes. I've suggested that's one of the reasons why they want this property. Is there's mistakes here. There's something on this property. Because why wouldn't they just, here's $1,000,000 for your property or $800,000 for your property? You think it's not worth it? Of course it's worth it. Of course it's worth it. But they don't want to get me out from underneath it. They want to force me off the property to make it look like I was hiding something on the property, and that's the reason why I stayed for so long. No, I'm staying for so long because this is my property, right? But I've said from the, from the very beginning of this, at least, that there's something on this property that they want. And the mistakes would be a big deal, right? The mistakes on the property would be a big deal. Burying the mistakes on the property would be a big deal, right? Because you're talking about human lives that have been created and experimented with that were being tossed away. And it might be advantageous to go from one side of the matter to the other side of the matter and look like I am all for this side of the matter and would never be involved in this side of the matter. All right? Donald Trump used to be pro-choice. He switched over. He was outspokenly pro-choice. He switched over to the Republican Party for benefit, for self-interest, and now he's pro-life. Well, there's got to be a benefit in that. There's got to be a benefit. I mean, come on. He's been with, by definition, whores and married them. So don't tell me that you have respect for life, because you don't. Okay, so we've got that. So you switched over for a self-serving reason, which every Christian person knows, but they don't care, because the ends justifies the mean for every Christian who's voted for Trump for that reason. The end justifies the mean. So I've been thinking about these mistakes and what could they be, right? Because there would be unwanted babies, but those would be miscarried in a very natural way if there was real problems with them. So it would be the problems that were created after birth, which to me could be kept in Fremont, could have been kept in Fremont. Lots of secrets there. Like I said, lots of twins there. And if I haven't said it before, Bill Maher, you're Kip Schaparsky. And I haven't said this before, but the absolute, no question about it. So Ron Myring, you're Michael May. But Kip Schaparsky, you are Bill Maher. And you did not have that family, but you did go to Cornell. I've said it before. You did not have that family. Your dad, nobody knew your dad, but he was something, from what I understand. I came in there late, so everybody had the foundation and knew all the secrets. All their families had been there for years, right? So they knew all the secrets. But this is what Kip Schaparsky used to do all the time. And when Bill Maher is interviewing Fred Durst, and Fred Durst is really on him, like not in a like in a why and he knows something. Durst knows something in that way, and he makes a comment to Bill Maher about Bill Maher's always making sexual innuendos, especially homosexual innuendos, and Fred Durst is calling him out on it and saying, I think you are more whatever, and Kip Schaparsky does what Kip Schaparsky did all the time. You ever see a move that like only one person ever does, and it's like exactly, and that's it, and that person, nobody else would. And he sits back like this, and he goes, oh, 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 like he's gonna undo his pants. So there he is, and it's the same exact look. Sorry, see, this is all. I hate my fat arms. So it's the whole look, because his pants are like, all of a sudden his pants become high waisted, and like his zipper's about like a foot long. And he was like, oh, 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 oh. And I was in front of him, and he did that to me in class in ninth grade or 10th grade or 11th grade. I think we were seniors. Oh, 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 oh. And I sat there and went, go ahead. And what does he do? He shuts up. Kip Shaparsky, look at you. But you aren't honest. You're not honest. So we can't trust you. Jenny's your sister. Doesn't look anything like you at all, which we said, although those crazy eyes. Yeah, crazy eyes. So I was thinking, what are they doing? Like with the ones that are born because of all this. Not like I've been thinking about my whole life, but for over a year now, like thinking about it. All these different aspects of this mystery. And so so looking at my family and what would be the problems with the extended family, because my cousin is trying to take my identity, Michelle, and said she's dead. She said she's dead. She's not dead. She's here in Milford trying to take my identity. And she could, but she doesn't have the boobage for it, so she's got to get that done. We call it boobage in psychology. Look it up. And I want to hear that out there. I want to hear boobage out there. That's when I'm not out there anymore at all. So the time I am, somebody say boobage to me. Then I'll know. I'll be like, but I won't. Because I am mum's the word. Sharon Blackwell and your brother. I'm just naming names. You're Lauren. If nobody heard that. I did see Aldo as Autumn, but not always. And that makes me wonder about Binky and Sherry. And that one hurts a lot. That hurts a lot. A lot, a lot. So, let me pull that down. There we go. One of the things our family had was crater face. Not everybody. And some of us had the tendency for it but didn't get it, like my sister, right? So she had face problems and she had gone on Accutane, but she never got the crater face, those great big scars in her face. But my uncle had them. And the Brooks family had them. And what's up with your meatball head? Billy? Bill, not Billy. Bill? I don't know. There's just, when it comes down to it, when it comes right down to it, it's the most perverse sexual perversions. And they're coming to me from people in my past, but then also from stories that I can see now are connected. And That's the only way that you could get these kind of perversions and even see them, even get your eyes to see them, is through a story. And then you make the connections with that story, and you're just like, is this really happening? Like, as in, not like, am I in a dream state? I mean, is this taking place? Is this really taking place? Is that person really having sex with her son? Is that taking place? Is that really taking place? Because that's the extension of it, right? If it's sex and it's hidden in the darkest recesses of our planet, if it's sex and it's hidden in the darkest recesses of our planet, then it's really, really nasty sex. It is forbidden, dark, and harmful sex, and truly harmful sex. If in this society we have to hide something sexual so dark, so deep, it has to be so dark. Nobody can look at it directly. Nobody could directly look at it. And that's the truth. That's the truth right there. I talk about moral disengagement in my philosophical class. It's because you can't directly look at a sin like that. And that's the reason also why God can't be by sin. It's why we can't look at him, why we have to be cleansed before we have a relationship with him. You know that when you think about seeing the most evil atrocities, and then if you saw them over and over again, as God would, generation after generation, well, you would become accustomed to them, wouldn't you? You would be able to see a movie like Savage Grace and not be, or be, and be curious about it. I just, and that's a story, and that story seems to replicate a person in this from the beginning, from the very beginning. I had questioned the abuse, and I still don't know who's involved. And that is an unbelievable feeling, because I have a friend who, I don't know, I mean, all of them are involved. All of my high school girlfriends are involved to one extent or another. So the one, what is the extent that you're involved, MP? What's the extent that you're involved? And that scares me a lot. My best friend is involved, but that's her character. Her character has always been for Danelle, but not MP. So I've been thinking about, like, what are the qualities? So back to the twin studies, right? What are the qualities that they didn't get right? Because we're starting from the very beginning, and we're starting with things like Robber's Cave, right? So if you have the experiment of the twins, and you are able to manipulate environment experimentally to the extent of something like Robber's Cave, right? We've talked about this. We're on day 65. So you manipulate it to the extent of robber's cave, at least in some scenarios. And I just think that Michigan, North Fox Island, Wayne State University, U of M, Michigan State, regarding the food and the manipulation of food, U of M regarding the manipulation of medicine, Oakland University, a sister school that's able to get participants without ever being an established university giving out established degrees. And Wayne State University, witchcraft. It's the study of something, because Wayne State University is associated with North Fox Island. And look it up. And there is an essence of prisoner's experiment on North Fox Island. So, to me, evidence of prisoner's experiment on North Fox Island, no doubt. And a place to get rid of people, extreme, and then the ability to get rid of people. My cousin used to say how she went horseback riding and all these fantasies, and we couldn't believe how she had lied, and all of it's North Fox Island. And no doubt about it, that's not the cousin who's imitating me, it's her sister. She didn't get abused. She didn't. She didn't get abused, as far as I know, unless early on maybe she did, because she's got a little bit of it. Screw loose, but not like her sister, who's my age, who's the one who's imitating me. Long gray hair. Somebody told me. Somebody's acting like you. She said, hey, I'm working at so-and-so. Clearly, people are thinking that she's me. And she could act like me. And if she acts like me in front of a camera and she looks like me, then people are going to have the evidence that they want and need to say that she's a nut. Me. No. It is my twin. It's my twin out there. She has long gray hair, big dark eyes. And oh, by the way, I know that was you, Pamela. I know that was you. My cousin Michelle? Are you kidding me? And you were the nut. You are a nut. You're a nut. But there's something more to that. There is, without a doubt, you have been trafficking. You have 4 daughters, Michelle? And all different fathers and different races? You were mimicking Shelley, weren't you? Michelle was mimicking Shelley. Because I can see the difference between the two of them. I can see the difference, but I can see that that's who you were mimicking. You were trying to get into the karates, is what you're trying to do. And then you found out that's not exactly where it's at. You can get in right here. So the oldest of the lot seemed to have the problems with the face. But the Brooks family had it across their entire family. So I started with that characteristic, and then I was like, hey, he has a crater face. Hey, he has a crater face. Around me. Hey, he has a crater face. Hey, he has a crater face. And they were all looking alike. They were all looking like the Brooks family. All of them. Nick, you said you were Mike, and you were with Heidi. And is Heidi Heather? But I know now, Nick, and Daisy, nobody has that face except for Lady G. And all of you have been lying to me. And Kathy, you've always looked like Lonnie Anderson. And all of you have been lying to me about who you are. Why? That's the whole thing about it. I mean, you could find out one or two people, but that's how many people do you need from your past lying to you about who they are for you to be like, what the F? Right? So there was something in the experiments with the face that was messing up people's faces, but we're forcing these people to be out there. And they looked a lot alike. They look like Randy Wilcox, Bob Brooks, Nick. What is your last name? And Bill. All of you look alike. All of you look alike. And all of you are around me from different periods in my life. Starting with Bob Brooks a long time ago, who had 4 brothers, or there were 4 boys, and had 4 boys, and had 4 girls, but 4 brothers. And Linda was his wife, who's also around me. So, to wrap up, the big picture on this, on the twin studies, to wrap up the big picture on the twin studies, is that there were mistakes, that this likely started around the 1930s. And this is folded into, look up during that time, oh dear gosh, the World Fair in New York. Look up the World Fair in New York, but how could I have forgotten that? John West's movie, Human. How could I have forgotten that movie? The name of the movie. But look that up, John West, by John West from Discovery Institute. And you will see the beginnings of these experiments and how radical environments were devised for people from directly from Africa, from people who were indirectly from Africa, for people who were minorities, for people who were freaks. The World Fair in the 1930s is the beginnings of these splicing and dicing of DNA. We're being told about it now. They've been doing it for years. And there is no doubt that we've seen a hierarchy in belief systems that say there's a reason for this hierarchy, and the reason is that the lowly need to stay low for our experimental purposes. So they've kept this hierarchy in place, right? Preceded by slavery to get this population, and we've been called the Great Experiment. The United States has been called the Great Experiment. I want to know why. I want to know, what is the Great Experiment? We've been called this the entire time, the Great Experiment of democracy. You could just say, well, it's a democracy, Dr. Feravich. No, because there's a manipulation in an experiment. There are researchers, there are participants, and those participants are unknowing until they're a debriefing, which we're apparently never going to get, because why would they, when they've perverted ethics in science for so long? I'm still trying to think of the name of the movie. And if we're willing for our self-serving purposes to keep this hierarchy and then basically manipulate and experiment on the lowest that we could manipulate, that's where it started from, right? So that we could get the general information on how to manipulate people, and now we start moving up in class. The manipulations start moving up in class so that we end up with more power and more things, more rewards. But the biggest thing here is, where are the mistakes? Where are the mistakes? Because there are mistakes, right? There are, I mean, I hate my fat arms. What is that? What, strawberry patch? What is that? What is that? How do people know? You think they don't know? You think I don't know they know what's going on right inside my head? They know things nobody, that I've only thought. I've been alone here for at least a month by myself. How do people know my thoughts? They've been doing a lot more. The twin studies, they have completely whitewashed how they got that data and what they've been doing with that data in order to find all of this information out. Have you been tagging them like animals? But you have to tag them in a way they don't know. Have you been tagging us like animals in a way that we don't know? Elon Musk said he could put a chip in your head and you'd never know it. Really? How long have I had my chip in my head? These people who have been considered crazy and schizophrenic, and now we have such an increase in schizophrenia. Why? Where are the mistakes? Where are the mistakes? I see you around me, Brooks family. Why are you all around me? Why, Daisy, is your husband Nick acting like Mike? Is it because you're Lady G? Where are all the mistakes? Because there were a lot of them in my family. This is Dr. Annette Feravich with Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. I think we're done. I wish I had a better way to communicate with all of you, because I know that you're hearing me, and I wish I could communicate with you. I really do. And it bothers me that I can't offer my services to people. It really bothers me that they have oppressed me so much so that I can't offer my services to people, because I really think I know that my knowledge in this area of human behavior and historic human behavior and historic research is beneficial. I know it is incomparable. My view and my knowledge is incomparable, and I wish that I could talk to you. I wish, other than this, I wish that I could have some one-on-one with my family and with the people who I believe would make this world a better place if we just had the right inspiration, the right motivation, but also what I would like to do one-on-one. I've always wanted to. I've always believed that I could give people who are of that upper echelon a new way to see things, a new way to enjoy life. And why them? Well, because they're running the show, and they're running the show right into the ground. And there's no reason for it. You have everything, every resource. So why are you running us all into the ground? Why are you running a great resource into the ground? Why are you feeling so threatened by great resources, and then so therefore you run them into the ground? This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I will be here for the spiritual classroom. What do we have going on in the spiritual classroom today, folks? The poor. I have to think about what I wanted to say about that. I mean, I know what I wanted to say about it. It's just such an interesting... I know what I wanted to say. I just know I'm not prepared to say it. That's what I know. I'm not prepared to say it. I don't know if I'm going to be on today, but I usually let him guide me, so we'll see. Only because not because I don't want to get on. I do want to get on. It's just I really want to be prepared, and I have an hour, and I'm going to dilly-dally. I don't know how much I'm going to prepare. I'm going to dilly-dally and maybe get a scarf so you can't see. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I enjoy this. I hope I can continue in this peaceful, wonderful place. Thanks for joining me. I'm the teacher. We are in the critical thinking classroom. Thanks.